पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। So we'll begin the second chapter of the second canto, which is entitled The Lord in the Heart. So after having explained the meditative process, what was the meditative process? In the end of the first chapter was to meditate on the universal form of the Lord, the Virat Rupa. And what is the purpose? What is the purpose of meditating on the universal form of the Virat Rupa? Anyone remembers? What was the purpose of meditating on the universal form? Yes, Shanika? Yes, speak, Shanika. You're able to hear? Shanika, you have raised your hand, so please answer, speak. I think your audio is not working. You are all able to hear me or not?
He is on mute yet.
Yeah, she is on mute. I think our audio is not.
गिरना मत बेटा।
What was the purpose of the explanation of the Virat Rupa, which Shukdev Goswami explained as the first step in God realization? We have studied that chapter. भूल गए क्या सारा? Okay, I am going to the next chapter. Let us begin the chapter. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Pura Dharanatmayone Nashtam Smritir Patyavaruddhatushta Tata Sarsaje Dhammamogadrishtim Yathapayayat Praga Vyasaya Buddhi. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Roop, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus, he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. So that is one purpose that Lord Brahma achieved, perfection in his action, in his service. The example cited herein of Sri Brahmaji is one of forgetfulness. Brahmaji is the incarnation of one of the mundane attributes of the Lord. Being the incarnation of passion, mode of material nature, he is empowered by the Lord to generate the beautiful material manifestation. Yet, due to his being one of the numerous living entities, he is apt to forget the art of his creative energy. This forgetfulness of the living entity beginning from Brahma down to the lowest insignificant ant is a tendency which can be counteracted by meditation on the Virat Roop of the Lord. There is one purpose. This chance is available in the human form of life, and if human being follows the instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam and begins to meditate upon the Virat Rupa, then a revival of his pure consciousness and counteraction of the tendency to forget his eternal relationship with the Lord can follow simultaneously. And as soon as this forgetfulness is removed, the Vyavasaya Buddhi, as mentioned here and in the Bhagavad Gita 2.41, follows at once. This ascertained knowledge of the living being leads to loving service of the Lord, which the living being requires. The kingdom of God is unlimited, therefore the number of the assisting hands of the Lord is also unlimited. The Bhagavad Gita 13:14 asserts that the Lord has his hands, legs, eyes, and mouth in every nook and corner of the creation. Anyone knows the verse? Very beautiful verse. 13:14. Very famous verse. Without seeing the book. How Krishna is omnipresent. Hmm. How Krishna is omnipresent. He has his hands, his eyes, his ears, everywhere. The Lord has his hands, legs, eyes, and mouth in every nook and corner of his creation. This means that the expansion of differentiated parts and parcel called jivas or living entities are assisting hands of the Lord and Lord. The conditioned soul, influence of the illusionary material energy generated out of false egoism. One can counteract such false egoism by invoking God consciousness. Liberation means getting out of the slumber of forgetfulness and becoming situated in the real loving service of the Lord, as exemplified in the case of Brahma. The service of Brahma is the sample of service and liberation, distinguished from the so-called altruistic service, full of mistakes and forgetfulness. Liberation is never inaction, but service without human mistakes. Very beautiful. See what Prabhupada gives such a, what should I say, soothing explanation. Liberation is never inaction, but service without human mistakes. So what did we understand from this verse? It how Brahmaji received perfection. शब्दस्य हि ब्रह्मणायेष पंथा यन्नामभिर्ध्यायति धीर अपार्थहे परिभ्रमंस्तत्र न विन्द्यते अर्थम मायामये वसानय सायानः सायानः. The way of presentation of the Vedic sound is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned soul hovers in dream of such heavenly illusionary pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Such a big myth which is woven around one's mind. The conditioned soul is always engaged in laying out plans for happiness within the material world, even up to the end of the universal limit. He is not even satisfied with the available amenities on this planet Earth, which he has exploited the resources of nature to the best of his ability. He wants to go to the moon or to the planet Venus to exploit resources there. But the Lord has warned us in Bhagavad Gita 8:16 about the worthlessness of the innumerable planets of this universe, as well as those planets within other systems. What is 8:16? What is 8:16? कुछ तो बोलो क्या बात है you have all taken a vow not to speak. So far none of the inquiry has been answered. Yes, Darshik bro.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु।
Yes,
ब्रह्म भुवनार लोक
yes. Punaravartino Arjuna. Even if you go to the topmost planet of Brahmalok, or which is called the Satyalok, then what is the again? Punaravartino Arjuna. Again you have to come back. But what is the next line? Very, very phenomenal statement Krishna gives in the next line. What is that?
माँ उपदेश न कौन्तेय पुनरावृत्ति न विद्यते।
Yeah, Punarjanmana Vidyate. Yeah, Punaravirti, but the word is Punarjanmana. Mam upetya tu kaunteya punarjanma. But if you come to me, my dear Arjuna, then that is the place of no return. Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhamam paramam mama. Everywhere else, there is the law of return. Punaravartino Arjuna. Of all the innumerable planets of this universe, as well as universes, and there are also innumerable planets in each of them. But none of them is immune to the chief miseries of material existence, namely the pangs of birth, the pangs of death, the pangs of old age, and the pangs of disease. The Lord says that even the topmost planet, known as Brahmalok or Satyalok, and what to speak of other planets, like the heavenly planets, is not a happy land for residential purposes. Due to the presence of material pangs, as above mentioned, conditioned souls are strictly under the laws of fruitive activities. And as such they sometimes go up to Brahmalok and again come down to Patal-lok, as if they were unintelligent children on the merry-go-round. The real happiness is in the kingdom of God, where no one has to undergo the pangs of material existence. Therefore, the Vedic ways of fruitive activities for the living entities are misleading. One thinks of a superior way of life in this country or that, or on this planet or another. But nowhere in the material world can he fulfill his real desire of life, namely eternal life, full intelligence, and complete bliss. Indirectly, Srila Shukdev Goswami affirms that Maharaj Parikshit, in the last stage of life, should not desire to transfer himself to the so-called heavenly planets, but should prepare himself for going back home, back to Godhead. None of the material planets, nor the amenities available there for living conditions, is everlasting. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness as they are offered. अथा कविर्नामासु यावादर्थः स्यादप्रमत्तो व्यवसाय बुद्धि Siddhe anyarthe nayatet tatra parishramam tatra samiksamanaha. For this reason, the enlightened person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life. While in the world of names, he should be intelligently fixed and never endeavor for unwanted things. Being competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors are merely hard labor for nothing. Very important verse. What we should do and what we should not do. Endeavor only for minimum necessities of life. We should be intelligent, not to waste one's energy and time for unwanted things. Bhagavad Dharma, the cult of Srimad Bhagavatam, is perfectly distinct from the way of fruitive activities, which are considered by the devotees to be merely a waste of time. The whole universe, or for that matter, all material existence, is moving as a jagat. Simply for planning business to make one's position very comfortable or secure. Although everyone sees that this material existence is neither comfortable nor secure and can never become comfortable or secure at any stage of development. Those who are captivated by the illusory advancement of material civilization, following the way of phantasmagoria, are certainly madmen. The whole material creation is a jugglery of name only. In fact, it is nothing but a bewildering creation of matter like earth, water, and fire. The building, furniture, cast, bungalows, mills, factories, industries, peace war, or even the highest atomic energy and electronics are all simply bewildering names of material elements with their concomitant reaction of the three modes. Since the devotee of the Lord knows them perfectly well, he is not interested in creating unwanted things for a situation, simply names. Sorry. But simply names of no more significance than the babble of the sea weaver. The great kings, leaders, and soldiers fight with one another in order to perpetuate their names in history. They are forgotten in due course of time, and they make a place for another era in history. But the devotee realizes how much history and historical persons are used as product of this flickering time. The fruitive worker aspires after a big fortune in the matter of wealth, women, and worldly adorations. But those who are fixed in perfect reality are not at all interested in such false things. For them, it is all waste of time. Since every second of human life is full to utilize time very cautiously. 1 second of human life wasted in the vain search of planning for happiness in the material world can never be replaced. Even if one can spend millions of points of gold. Therefore, the transcendentalist declaring freedom from the clutches of Maya or illusionary activities of life is warned herewith not to be captivated by the external features in furtive actions. Human life is never meant for self-gratification, but it is for self-realization. Srimad Bhagavatam instructs us solely on this subject from the very beginning to the end. Human life is simply meant for self-realization. The civilization which aims at this utmost perfection never indulges in creating unwanted things. And such a perfect civilization prepares man only to accept the bare necessities of life or to follow the principles of the best use of the bad bargain. Our material bodies and our lives in that connection are bad bargains because the living entity is actually spirit, and spiritual advancement of the living entity is individual. Sorry. Our material body and our lives in that connection are bad bargains because the living entity is actually spirit, and the spiritual advancement of the living entity is absolutely necessary. Human life is intended for the realization of this important factor, and one should act accordingly, accepting only the bare necessities of life and depending more on God's gift without any devotion, without diversion, without diversions of human energy for any other purposes, such as being mad for material enjoyment. The materialistic advancement of civilization is called the civilization of the demons, which ultimately ends in wars and scarcity. The transcendentalist is specifically warned herewith to be fixed in mind, so that even if there is difficulty in plain living and high thinking, he will not budge even an inch from the stark determination. For a transcendentalist, it is suicidal policy to be intimately in touch with the sense gratifiers of this world, because such a policy will frustrate the ultimate gain of life. Shukdev Goswami met Parikshit Maharaj when the latter felt the necessity of such a meeting. It is the duty of a transcendentalist to help persons who desire real salvation and to surpass the cause of salvation. One might note that Sukdev Goswami never met Maharaj Parikshit while he was ruling as a great king. For a transcendentalist, the mode of activity is explained in the next sloka. I'm stopping here. There's 3 verses that we discussed. That what an intelligent person should do. It's talking about intelligent person, Vyavasaya Buddhi. Okay, if there is any question or discussion, you may ask. Yes, बोलिए पुरुषोत्तम प्रभु.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी.
हरे कृष्ण.
प्रभु श्लोक नंबर 3 में मेंशन्ड है कि पर्सन शुड एंडेवर ओनली फॉर द मिनिमम नेसेसिटीज ऑफ लाइफ. तो प्रभु ये मिनिमम नेसेसिटीज ऑफ लाइफ में क्या क्या आता है? एक्चुअली हम उसको काफी समझें.
Very good question. Very good question. What is the minimum necessity of life? Who will answer? Who has this understanding? Prabhupada explains it in many places. What is the minimum necessity of life? Only 2 hands are up. What is the minimum necessity of life, Pradeep?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Food, shelter, and
That is still secondary. What is primary? Roti, kapda, makan. Food, shelter, and clothing. What is primary? Yes, Madan Swarup Prabhu?
Prabhupada says to keep body and soul together, whatever is required, that is the bare necessities.
Yes. Till the time one exists in this body, just to maintain the body, the bare minimum. ठीक है, पुरुषोत्तम प्रभु, to keep the body and soul together, working only to keep one's body and soul together. That is bare minimum necessity of life. कितना कुछ चाहिए सोल को शरीर में रखने के लिए? क्या क्या चाहिए? बोलो भाई। मकान चाहिए, गाड़ी चाहिए, बैंक बैलेंस चाहिए, क्या चाहिए?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु, एक्चुअली मेरा पूछने का मतलब यही था कि प्रैक्टिकली हम लोगों को क्या क्या चाहिए, क्योंकि जितना भी रहता है वो कम ही लगता है, तो टिल
इसीलिए तो बता
व्हाट
रहे
एक्सटेंट वी
हैं
शुड अप्रोच।
कि आत्मा शरीर में रहे, उसके लिए कितना आवश्यक है, यही तो पूछ रहा हूँ। आत्मा को शरीर में निवास करने के लिए क्या आवश्यकता है?
तो वो 3 टाइम भोजन।
3 टाइम? किसने कहा 3 टाइम? एक टाइम भी अगर भोजन करेंगे तो आत्मा शरीर को छोड़ के जाने वाली नहीं है। जाएगी क्या? ऐसा कई बार हुआ ना,
नहीं,
आपने उपवास किया, दिन में एक बार खाया या एक बार भी नहीं खाया, तो क्या वो आत्मा छोड़ के चली गई क्या? बोलिए। Bare minimum is bare minimum. But it depends. It is not possible for everyone. For everyone, bare minimum is not the same. It will differ from one's consciousness and one's advancement in Krishna consciousness. Not everyone can be Goswami. धीरा धीर जना प्रिय प्रिय करो निर्मत सरो पूरी करो. But the principle is to minimize our dependence on the material creation, on the material existence. समझ में आ गया? जितना शरीर को
yes, yes,
धारण रखने के लिए बहुत आवश्यक है वो है, तो वो स्टैंडर्ड पे तो कोई भी नहीं है, बट वी शुड ट्राई टू कम एज क्लोज एज पॉसिबल. So the Bhagavatam is saying that if one is actually intelligent, if he has Vyavasaya Buddhi, then he will endeavor only for that which is essential. बोलिए मदन स्वरूप प्रभु, आपका क्या क्वेश्चन है?
प्रभु जी, प्रश्न नहीं है प्रभु जी का, जो क्वेश्चन है उसी पे टेक्स्ट 2 में लास्ट सेंटेंस है, उसका आंसर है इसमें.
बोलिए, पढ़िए.
None of the material planets nor the amenities available there for living condition is everlasting. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness as they afford.
Where it is explaining about?
Even, I mean, it's saying that, okay, suppose you are in the heavenly abode, there are so much of facilities, but one should not avail. There should be a reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness.
The point is temporary.
Yes.
It is temporary. तस्यैव होतो प्रियते कोविदो. This is the verse. Find out. Manoram Prabhu. Kovido. One who is actually intelligent. तस्यैव हेतो प्रयतेत कोविदो न लभ्यते. Find out this verse. This talks about someone who is actually intelligent. But Kali Yuga, manda samanda mateo manda bhagya hi upadrita. So how can one have that purified spiritual intelligence? Yes. तस्यैव हेतो प्रयतेत कोविदो न लभ्यते यद् भ्रमतम् उपरि यथा तद् लभ्यते दुःखवद् अन्यथा सुखम् कालेन सर्वत्र गंभीररहसा. So the verse translation. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from topmost planet Brahmalok down to the lowest planet Patal. Entered even the topmost planet Brahmalok. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. Just as in order of time, we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them. Okay, close it. Close it. So in essence, time should be utilized for self-realization, and our effort and energy for material existence should be bare minimum. Not that we are absorbed in trying for economic development and material prosperity. That is waste of human life. That is not bare minimum. You can see the bare minimum from the example of the Goswamis. Yaktva turnamashesha mandalpati shrenim sadatu chava. So these big mandalpati, prime minister, home minister, finance minister, highest post position, and they live like mendicants in Vrindavan. How? Bare minimum. They followed the standard of bare minimum. I'll tell you one secret. This I've experienced, and this has been shared by so many devotees. The minimum amount of material comfort or necessity that you avail in life, you will be free from the conditioning. The more you utilize them, the more you get conditioned. The less you are dependent on material resources or material comfort, you will see there will not be neither the attraction nor the impulse. Very freely you can go beyond the attraction of these very alluring and big trap of Maya, illusionary energetic traps. So bare minimum necessities of life. I know one devotee. He used to live in Sarita Vihar. He invited me one time to come to his house. And he had nothing practically in his house. Set of Bhagavatam, his altar, and mat. Whoever comes sits on the mat. So life is simple. This is simple living and hiking. So keep minimum inside your house and inside your heart. Clean it. One of my teachers used to say, those things you have not utilized in last 3 months that you don't require in your life, throw it or give it to someone. समझ में आ रहा है? लेकिन स्वीकार करना बड़ा कठिन है. क्यों? क्योंकि हमारी पहचान यही सब है. हमारी जान, हमारी पहचान, हमारी शान क्या है? ये मटेरियल एनर्जी हमारी आइडेंटिटी है. कैसे छोड़ देंगे? कैसे निकाल देंगे? तो जिएंगे कैसे? आत्मा छोड़ देगी क्या शरीर को? अहंकार नहीं छोड़ेगा. simple living. Very important. Simple living. Prabhupada gave the slogan, simple living and high thinking. High thinking is what? Thinking according to Acharyas, thinking according to Srimad Bhagavatam, the principle that it is giving. How much of it is acceptable? Tell me. Purushottam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, actually, Prabhu, it is acceptable in the association. Like we observed when we used to go in yatras, so we used to eat only once, then we are able to survive. But at
Right.
home,
Why once? Never. No, it was never so that in the yatra I gave you
once
only
or twice, Prabhu.
Huh?
Once or twice we can eat.
Minimum twice we were eating, or even more.
Yes, yes.
How many of you agree, Bhaiya? Ravinder, show him the report card. Show him the expense statement. In the yatra, the maximum expenses of prasadam, Baba. And you are saying that you were eating only once. If we do that, then the yatra will have a lot of surplus. Then there will never be any deficit. But still, there was some restraint, since there was some regulation. Particularly in Mayapur Yatra, I didn't, at times I refrained. I remember one yatra, one of the first brahmachari yatra. I shared with you. I showed you, when I went, when we went this time to Bhandirvan, the place of Radha Krishna marriage. I showed you my old pictures. How many of you saw? I shared with you, which I did a yatra in 2009. We used to stay in those forest places just on the open. Little mat was there. We should lie down on the mat. It was May time, May, peak summer. And we used to stay where one of the Vanam was there every day in each one. And we should take shower by taking water out from the well, going in the field and clearing ourselves. And very little, whatever we were able to prepare. We were eating. An entire day we were doing katha and hearing. And no one complained. We spent 7 days like that. You don't need any such things in life, useless things. Useless things. As you are right. So we need to be in association of such devotees who are really detached and renounced. So don't try to copycat what the worldly people are doing. Then you will become one of them. What we will become one of them? We are already one of them. So how do we distinguish? How do we differentiate when we do not do what they do? Should be happy with the bare minimum. That will save time. And in this age, the biggest defect is the defect of diversion or distraction. Very difficult to focus. Extremely difficult. Extremely difficult, even for those who are practicing. Because the distraction is so deep. So try to keep away from all these useless things in life. How to make the life immune? Every day hearing, reading, chanting, sharing. Strong program. Okay. See, I'm giving you one very important, practical trip in life. Those things which you have not utilized in your home or which is there with you for last 6 months, believe it, you don't depend on it. You don't require them. Try to remove it from your life. Gift it, give it to someone who may need it. You do this and you see, very shortly you will come to realize that you are not dependent on material resources. Gradually, under guidance, not abruptly. Gradually, you try to minimize. And don't bring any new things. You want to see my bed? If I still show you my bed, I have a very basic bed. It is of iron frame and it has one plastic sheet. For last 10 years, I have used it as continued, and next 10 years, it will same continue. After 4 or 5 years, I change the mat because what happens is the mat gets weird out. Its straws become loose and starts coming out. There's no need. I get good sleep. As soon as I lay down, I sleep. What is the purpose of bed? To support to sleep. And what people are doing, they're spending hundreds and thousands of rupees and having bed and with no sleep. They eat pills to sleep, or they have problems sleeping. And even bigger problem waking up. I have no problem waking up. Try to minimize. The more you depend on material energy, you are already under the clutches of the material energy. So minimize. Please, I am telling every one of you, if you really want to live light, just make a scan of what is all there with you in your place of dwelling. Try to see those things which are there with you, which you don't require. Remove it from your life. Remove the garbage. And don't add on. You will see life will become so attractive, so light. You will feel so light. Then you can practice without diversion and distraction. How many of you are joining every day morning? What time you are having the chanting session? What time you are starting? Now it should be not later than 5. It is peak summer. Pradeep, what time you are giving invitation?
5:15 goes. 5
No, 5:15 was in winters. Now it should not be more than 5. You change the time from tomorrow. Are you hearing? You did not reply to me.
Yes, sir.
Will you please change the time? Should be not later than 5. If you are not waking up in Brahma Muhurat, then you are not a practitioner. Very simple, as clear. Then this is only a farce show of spirituality. It will not help you. You cannot go beyond the influence of the modes. That is simple living. Okay? बोलिए पुरुषोत्तम जी.
Yes, वो clear point.
समझ में आ गया ना? जितना बोझा कम करोगे उतनी देर और उतनी लंबा चलोगे. जितना बोझा लेके चलोगे दब जाएगा. Hare Krishna. I'll give you an update. She started to recover, Leela. Very positive sign that there was no oxygen today. I made a video call today and spoke to her also, which I sensed yesterday also. So you please keep praying. Although not everything has become normal, So gradually her heart has to start functioning normal. And then without the support of medicines, then her BP has to become normal. And that stability is to be there for 4 to 5 days. Then only we can say that she has become normal. But there was another very upheaval incident in my office today. My assistant, he fell down today. We were working in the office, and at around 12:30, he just, fell down from the chair and fell on the floor, and he became unconscious. Nearly half an hour, very long, very prolonged. And I took him to the hospital. Same diagnosis. BP was extremely low. But he was showing symptoms were okay. Then we gave him normal saline. He was admitted in the hospital. Gave him normal saline, some injectables. And when he little bit stabilized, then his ECG was done, which came normal. So after 2 hours, they discharged. We don't know life, how it can, turn and how it can terminate also. It can happen with anyone, anytime. So please, all of you, because this tolerance level and the capacity to bear in Kali Yuga is becoming less and less. So please take care. Every day I have told you it is must that 15 minutes you should do breathing exercises to have good oxygen inside, to have good immunity. And because of the heat, please consume a lot of liquids and keep yourself strong, both mentally and also physically. Otherwise, though, it is happening in Kali Yuga. Little bit of change of weather, neither we can withstand summer, nor we can withstand winter. What can we withstand? Nothing. Our heart is so fragile, it is into pieces. Our mind is completely disturbed. We cannot withstand any kind of disturbance, collapse. So later I sent him back to his house, to his parents, and told him that give him rest, complete rest for at least 3 to 5 days. So please, whatever we are getting opportunity, whatever we are getting time, we should make a very sincere attempt and not waste time and not waste this opportunity let go. Prabhupada always gave us this principle of simple living and high thinking. What is simple living? Bare necessities of life. And what is high thinking? To practice the process of Krishna consciousness. Okay, thank you very much. It is getting late. So you all please continue to pray. All of you are praying. I am also very intensely praying for her every day. Chant some few extra rounds. Those who are chanting extra rounds for Leela, please share with me. You don't have to share with anyone else. You can share with me how much you chanted for her. Okay? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.